What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Breakdown Sportscast. I'm your host, Kory Willis. I hope everyone had a great weekend, got a chance to watch a lot of football over the weekend and hang out with friends and family, all of that great stuff. As always, we appreciate you guys listening in on the show. We're on many different streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Amazon Music, and Amazon Audible, iHeartRadio, and many other streaming platforms. So we very much appreciate you guys listening in on the show. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. All of that great stuff. It lets us know what we're doing and how we can improve for the future. So we very much appreciate you guys' support. As always, I'm here with my good friend and co-host. He is Chris Bolton. What is going on, Chris?
What's good? What's good? You said you hope everybody had a great weekend. Was our weekend as good as yours? Your birthday weekend?
Hey,
that's what people want to know.
Look, I enjoyed the weekend, of course. You know, watching football. You know all of that great stuff. Playing Spider-Man, I got a chance to do that.
Yeah,
the weekend.
Spidey did just drop.
Yeah. So that took most of my weekend. but yeah, overall, I enjoyed my weekend and everything. People really got a chance to celebrate it with me, so I very much appreciated that. But yeah.
Kind of like your weekend was just as good as Utah's weekend.
Look, man, hey,
that's quite a good weekend too.
That's a good weekend. The only thing I didn't do was bump many men in the locker room, of course.
It's never too late to bump any man.
Yeah,
look, there's still time.
Look, it's still a great 50 Cent record,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You can't go wrong with many men.
Can't go wrong with many men, and you can't go wrong if you're a Utah Utes fan. 4 straight wins over the USC Trojans.
You got the number. You have the number. You've written it down.
Yes.
You put it on your iPhone or your Android. You've locked it up in a safe.
You got it.
You got it. It's nothing you can do, USC.
They claim that this is a rivalry, but you need some back and forth wins for something to be a rivalry, I believe. And
yes,
it's all Utah as of late.
I agree. Yeah. I definitely
you called it. Utah was, I believe, what were they ranked at that time? Was it the 14th ranked Utes?
Yes.
14th ranked Utah defeats USC in what was a game that went down to the wire, a great ball game. The final score in that one, I'm pulling it up right now. The final score in that game was 34-32. Yes. Man, Utah doing what they do, finding ways to win the ball game. Wasn't the prettiest victory, but hey, a win is a win, ain't they right, Kory?
Hey, a win is a win. Any way you can get it. Utah stayed on Caleb Williams and company in this game. It was nothing defensively, and I know we talked about this last week, Chris. Nothing that USC could do defensively to stop this Utah team. And Utah just took advantage of it, like we say.
And honestly, it really wasn't the worst defensive effort by USC.
You don't think so?
Keeping it real, they got the pick 6.
Yeah, they did. But did they capitalize off of it throughout the game?
I know. you give up 250 rushing yards. That's that's not good. That's not good. But I mean, I just felt like USC's their secondary stepped up at least to get the interception, a key crucial interception. I got the back in the ball game, but that front seven looked like it was a front five. And it was missing two players the way they was giving up rushing yards.
I mean, folks, this is your Trojans. Like, if you're a USC fan, this is what's trotting out on the field each and every week. And I'm at a loss for words, Chris. I'm really am. Like, this team preseason was ranked high. Everyone had high hopes for this USC Trojans team. Caleb Williams was back. People were high on it. But, man, yeah, it really started to take a turn, I think, when they played Arizona State. Mm-hmm. When they were playing around with Arizona State that night, that really showed that something's wrong with this team, especially defensively. And they just couldn't stop Utah at all.
Yeah, this team can fall apart. I think the wheels are about to come off. I mean, you. Before I jump ahead, we'll talk a little more about this ball game. But you couldn't stop the run to save your life. I mean, nearly 250 rushing yards by Utah. It's unacceptable as a defense. When you know Utah has had its struggles offensively, especially throwing the football, so that should be even more incentive to lock in and key in on stopping the running game, the rushing attack. Didn't happen one bit. When you find yourself in a hole that you had to climb out of, trailing 14 in the second half, ultimately made it a ball game, was right there in the end with the opportunity to win, but you allow them to drive the field and get the game-winning field goal. So when you needed your defense the most, USC couldn't get the stop that they needed. It's unfortunate. One of their better players got called for a tough, rough and unnecessary roughness penalty that got him ejected out of the ball game. Mm-hmm. Bear. He's a beast. He can make big plays, but he also makes some boneheaded plays. I feel like that one was tough. He didn't lead with the crown of his helmet into the quarterback. The quarterback kind of sold it, but still got ejected out the ball game. It's a 15-yard penalty, and when you're trying to get that one stop to win the game, man, the last thing you can afford are 15-yarders at that. Penalties in general, right, but of the highest degree, the 15-yard variety. That's a recipe to lose.
That'll hurt you.
That's what happened, man.
That'll hurt you. Yeah. There's just so many just bonehead mistakes collectively as a unit. Did not help this team at all. And look, they got schooled by Bryson Barnes, which is a guy that was a walk-on for this Utah program. And, hey, they made Bryson Barnes look like a star heading into the NFL draft next year.
You look like Baker, another former walk-on star QB.
Yeah.
They turned him into a Baker Mayfield clone that game.
Absolutely. The last play that they made.
The run.
Yeah, that run. He was trying to score. He was trying to nip it in the bud there. No, we going to win this game. Granted, he knew how much time they had left, and they had pretty much all the timeouts. But he was trying to lead that team to victory, and he did.
That was a long third down too, wasn't it? Third, it was like third.
Yeah, I think it was maybe like third 12 or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I think USC caught themselves in man coverage, and you leave yourself susceptible for quarterback scramble runs whenever you man up.
Exactly. And Barnes knew it, and he just took advantage of it. So overall, a gutsy performance by Utah, by Bryson Barnes, and they're 6-1. Riding high in the Pac-12 right now, and USC, like their playoff chances, it's over now.
Oh, for sure. Utah is where they are where they want to be. Especially when you take into account the struggles they've had with the quarterback situation to start the year, with Barnes starting off the year unhealthy. The things are coming along, and for USC, where do we start? Caleb Williams, he makes some amazing plays, but he just failed to kind of put it together against some of the better teams in the country.
Yeah. There's no excuse for it. And, honestly, I'm a guy of integrity, of course. Mm-hmm. It's not a good look, of course, after a loss like that. You should be able to, like, you're their leader, you should be able to take it on the chin and go back to the drawing board and try to figure out a way to have about as good of a season that you're going to get, because you're not going to the playoffs anymore, but, there's still things to fight for. As this USC Trojans team, and Caleb's just sitting there on the bench, just chilling. I was waiting for him to, give props to Barnes, of course, shake his hand. Didn't get it. It's a bad look. It's not a good look. It's not a good look. And I know you're upset. No one wants to lose. But overall, it's not a good look for yourself and for the rest of your team. And
you're like a front runner,
right? And making sure that you stay as focused as possible even through all of this. Because granted, you don't know what's going to happen throughout the rest of the season. Like, you only lost 2 times. You're most likely out of the playoffs anyway, like we're saying. But crazier things have happened. And it's like he looked like someone that was just like dead set on just being like, yeah, I'm done.
I need to see more. I need to see more from him. You threw the ball 24 out of 34, 256 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. If somebody has been comped to Patrick Mahomes by many people in close to the game, I need you to make some plays. I need some touchdowns. I need the moment, the plays that won you the Heisman. We need that in display in this ball game. I don't think we got that. All of USC touchdowns were either rushing touchdowns, and you got the defensive touchdown off the interception, but you didn't get the plays you needed from your Heisman winning QB.
No,
you didn't get those in this game. And if you want to, be the team that we said to start the show that has your number, then we need a moment or two from you that puts the team over the top and takes the victory away. You don't just wind up winning. You take it out of Utah's hands and make sure, solidify that you guys win. We didn't get that.
No, we didn't get it. of course, but yeah, like I said, it's really just back to the drawing board now for Lincoln Riley. Man,
And they
you
got
wonder what
to
he's
get
going
right
through.
too. They got to get right. I mean, I know Cal isn't the world's best team, but you're still traveling to Cal. And I'm sure they smell blood.
Oh, they definitely do.
Everybody in the Pac-12 smells blood. Everybody feel like they want a piece of USC.
Mm-hmm. They definitely do. And who can blame them?
Mm-hmm.
Like this team looks they look desperate now. Like let's go ahead and say it. And they look desperate for a win, desperate for some momentum. Momentum that they had in the beginning of the season. They're looking to try to figure out how to get that mojo back, and they just haven't seemed to get it as of late. And yeah, that's just the way it is. So, like I said, hats off to Utah. Gutsy performance. Yeah, that program is pretty much riding high right now, even through the circumstances that they're having. But hey, that's what great teams do. They find ways to win.
They do. And USC, buckle up. As we've said in our prior podcast, it's going to continue to get tougher. When November comes, oof.
Oh, look, hey, that's where the real day of reckoning will begin. When November comes.
When November comes, oh boy,
no one's going to lay down for you. No one.
Well, we'll see how if they do respond, if they do answer, but. Everybody, all this noise was talking about, Bama having a down year. It's looking real. It's looking like USC gonna be the one messing around, have them a 8-4 kind of year this year. They have the talent to defeat a Washington, to defeat an Oregon, or do they? Well, offensively they do. I don't know. I don't know. We can say that defensively, and we can't trust them. You can't make. I don't think anybody in their right mind would predict USC to defeat those two teams. So that's 2 more losses right there in many people's eyes. That's what you're looking at an 8-4 season at best. You gotta defeat Cal and UCLA.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm like this team probably at best is an 8 to 9 win team. Flat out.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what happens with them going forward. I still love their offense when it's clicking.
Mm-hmm.
But like we said before, their defense is their defense, and that's just the way it's going to be going forward.
That's just the way it is. You know the song.
Oh yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Things will never be the same.
They sure won't. Yeah, man. Tough sledding.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, anything else you want to add to that game before we move on?
No, we can get away from that stank.
Oh yeah.
I'm good.
I'm in agreement. Well, folks, we are now going to head over to Houston, Texas, where the Houston Cougars hosted the Texas Longhorns over the weekend. This game, honestly, for me, I'm not sure about for you as well, Chris, but I'm not surprised that Houston actually made this a game with Texas,
right?
Because I think these two teams haven't faced each other at Houston in like years now. It was one of those weird games. I think I had heard people saying like they haven't really faced each other that much, and especially at Houston. So this is one of those games that made me kind of feel a little. I'm not sure Texas. If this is the game to be kind of fooling around in, because after seeing what Houston did to win that football game against Virginia, well, not Virginia, it was West Virginia. With that Hail Mary, that you just kind of feel you feel that way where teams kind of start to get that little mojo in, and they're starting to feel good and confident, and you don't want to go in a situation where you want to get caught slipping. And that was one of these games over the weekend that I felt like Texas could get caught slipping, and they almost did. But ultimately, Texas won the game 31-24. Quinn Ewers, it was just announced over the weekend that he's going to miss some time with an AC joint sprain, and now they have to figure out what to do during that time that he's out.
Who will take the reins?
That's pretty much what we're at now.
Is it the beginning of the Arch era?
Well, maybe not just yet.
Yeah, I'm about to say I know there's a few quarterbacks on roster.
Well, they have Malik Murphy,
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Sanborn. Those are going to be they're two guys that they'll have to run with. Particularly Malik Murphy. I think he's pretty much the guy, the second guy in command, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
I just know this
is better. So
this Texas team, they just like to play up and down to their competition, and
per usual.
And that's going to get I feel like they're going to get bitten again pretty soon. Doing so.
Mm-hmm.
At times they played up to Oklahoma, and other times they shot themselves in the foot that ball game, and that's a product of what you do in other ball games. That's why you shot yourself in the foot in that game, because of how you played in other games, and it continues in this one. They're just the more talented team, so that's why they can skate by Houston doing so. But even though the schedule favors Texas to win out, I don't think when you have a new quarterback, you have Murphy coming in more than likely with Ewers out sometime, and just how this team plays in general, I don't think any game is guaranteed. I think this team is primed for someone to catch them slipping and to upset them if they continue to play like they are.
Yeah, that's that's been on my mind ever since we've noticed how up and down Texas plays, even before the Red River rivalry game. That was what we were always reiterating every time. Was like, when is it going to be time where they're going to have one of these games and they're actually going to lose, and they're actually going to have to explain themselves on why they lost, because they can't just keep playing like this and expect to win every single time. I mean, that's already thrown out of the window after the OU game. Granted, they still fought hard in that game, but some of the same issues that have occurred in other games.
You left points in the field in that game.
Yeah, you left tons of points on the field. So, yeah, this game is just a microcosm of what their season has been. And I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting on the game for when they're supposed to.
Do you have the schedule up?
No, I don't. But let me pull it up.
Let's play America's favorite game. What game will Texas lose?
I got put in the effects. All right, so I got the schedule up, Chris. So, coming up this Saturday, they have a home game against BYU.
Okay.
That's not an easy game.
I say I put the upset meter pretty low on that one. I feel like they should handle them.
You sure?
I think they should. I'll put it a little low. I think they should, but like you said, new QB. So we'll see. BYU, they did beat Arkansas. Granted, and
well,
it's
that's
so
not a hard thing to do.
I know it's so difficult equating these games because Bama barely beat Arkansas. BYU beat Arkansas, but then Bama lost to Texas, and then Mississippi State just beat Arkansas.
Yeah,
and what was probably the ugliest win.
Oh, it was the worst game
this year.
It's the worst game of this season. It's the worst game of this season, hands down. Until someone else steps aside and say, "Hold my beer. I'm gonna give you the worst show ever."
Yeah, I know we're talking Texas right now, but we do got to mention that game. That game was some stank. Mississippi State beat Arkansas 7-3 in the year of 2023.
And then Dan Enos just got fired after that performance. As we always say, Chris, you lose to Mississippi State.
We say it on the show all the time. You lose to Mississippi State, you lose your job. That is the quickest way out.
Yep.
You want to lose your job? You want to get fired but continue to get paid? Lose to Mississippi State.
Yep. That's where you start.
I'm talking to you, Jimbo. Yeah. In a few weeks, lose to Mississippi State.
Don't worry.
The Boosters will find a way to buy you out. Then.
Oh man, they will find a way. They will go in their safes and find extra cash just laid out and just take care of business. Oh man. But back to Texas.
With the BYU next. Okay, I think they should get by BYU.
Yes. Yeah. And November the 4th is Kansas State.
Is it at Manhattan?
No. Luckily this game is in Austin, so that's still home.
I'll circle that one. Kansas State's a veteran, well-coached team that's as disciplined. I can see them being locked in and not overwhelmed by playing in Austin.
Right.
I think that they might even come out even sharper than what they might have been at home. I think they'll be ready for that game. That's the one to circle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely going to be an interesting one, but we'll see if they're locked in during that time, and then you'll have two road games back to back. The first one being at TCU on November the 11th, and then at Iowa State on November the 18th, and then of course you finish up the season against Texas Tech on the 24th. And that's at home. So like any one of those games could be a trap game for Texas. It's
for sure.
It's just really waiting on Yeah, it's just really waiting on on if Texas can handle their business. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm interested to see what happens, but hey, if they go out there and they get upset by BYU or Iowa State, like
It will be a shocker in the sense of wow, Texas lost to Iowa State, but then it wouldn't be a shocker in the sense of if you watch this team play throughout the season,
mm-hmm.
what could happen. So we'll see how things play out, but
Yeah.
I'll be I'll be keeping an eye on these next couple of weeks because they should be without Quinn with an AC joint injury. You think at least the next 2 weeks?
I don't think they specifically have said how long he's going to be out, but my guess would probably be about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks.
Because as much as I'm sure he would love to get on the field, he's also a top NFL draft prospect. So you don't want to jeopardize that either. So
Right.
I'm curious to see how long it takes him to get back because those AC joint injuries can be a little tricky.
Mm-hmm.
And he's someone who likes to scramble too.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So there is a little bit of a re-injury risk with him and his play style.
Yeah. There he is. So, yeah, it's just a wait and see approach right now with Ewers. But overall, in the game that they won against Houston, he was 23 for 29, threw for 211 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, you see those stats when he's out there. He brings it through the air, and it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Malik Murphy has to, who knows if he has to finish out the season for, if he has to finish out the season or what happens.
It'd be nice to see if he can get the chunk plays going for Texas. You mentioned 23 completions, only 211 yards, though. That ain't the highest completion yards per completion average right there. So we'll see if they can kind of spread the field and get guys like Mitchell and Worthy, the ball downfield. I think if you don't have your top QB, I think you would like to scheme up some easy stuff, but also if you can scheme up a long shot TD, and maybe instead of having to matriculate the ball 9, 10, 11 plays downfield, if you can get your little 3, 4, 5 play scoring drives going, that'll be nice as well.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's gonna be interesting to see how this offense improves without him. That's really what I want to see. Can Sark get the most out of this team, knowing that Ewers isn't going to be out there, and because he is a very talented player that keeps this offense moving, and without him, it's going to be tough either way. But how tough is really what I'm interested in.
If we wait to see, yeah,
So yeah, it's a tough outing for Ewers. We wish him the best of health, best of luck in recovering. But as they say in every sport, next man up. So definitely gonna have to see what happens moving forwards. But anything else you want to add, Chris, on this game before we move on?
Yes, sir. We can keep it rolling.
All right.
Get that no huddle offense going.
Yep. Absolutely. Hey, you know, maybe Nick Saban now will want to add a no huddle into his offense now. Since they're clicking on all cylinders right now. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it started off a little slow that first quarter, but once they got it going, they got it going.
yeah, they did. They did. So, yeah, Alabama defeated Tennessee over the weekend, 34-20 in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, this game it was a little concerning for Alabama at first. Tennessee pretty much had the lead going into halftime. They were up 20-7, and at that point, I was like, "Man, is Tennessee going to do it again?" Because you know a lot of Alabama fans were just probably on the edge of their seats, Chris, just like, "Oh my gosh, like here we go again, just like last year." And hey, thankfully, they saw Miro and company wake up. Their defense woke up, made some big stops, and hey, they got the W.
They did. Tennessee had some opportunities early on in the ball game that they didn't necessarily, I feel like, take full advantage of. When you going back looking at it, the team, they got the touchdown with Squirrel White to start the first quarter. Big plays. Had two more chances in the red zone. You kick a 24-yard field goal and a 26-yard field goal. Those need to be touchdowns if you want to pull off the upset on the road.
Yeah.
Being up 13-zip is okay. Being up 21-zip is much better. Instead of being up 13-0. 21-0 would be much better. And that's what this team, that would have truly put the pressure on Alabama. If at the end of one, they're trailing 21-0 at home, that place would be quiet on mute if that's the case.
And they were for a minute.
It was only that little patch of orange out there in Bryant Denny. That's what you would have been hearing through your TV screen. But they left points on the field. They left chances, opportunities there to be had. And Alabama, eventually you knew it was only a matter of time before they got things clicking on offense. And, the second half, they outscored Tennessee 27-0.
I'm talking
27-0.
They just put it on Tennessee. And even when Tennessee had that little late surge, Chris, where they could have scored and they could have made like those last couple minutes of their game a little interested. They get all of these false starts, and that really just took the air out of the football for Tennessee.
For sure.
But yeah, overall, that it was just a remarkable comeback by this Alabama team. And what I have to ask you, Chris, could this be Nick Saban's best coaching job in a long time?
It very well can be. This team, they're finding ways to win. I'm curious to see if this staff continues to try to get Isaiah Bond the ball. We've seen some guys, we've been asking and begging for someone to step up. Burton, he makes some big contested catches, but
it can't just be him.
It can't just be him. And I think you need a more dynamic athlete to step up. And Bond flashes. He's fast. And so I'm curious to see if Alabama will try to get him the ball, just whether it's at the line of scrimmage or continue to get him the ball downfield. But I think Bond, if he gets more touches, that can only make this Alabama offense even more lethal than what it is. So that's something I took away from this game. But yeah, Saban's doing his thing. He quickly learned after that South Florida game, Jalen gonna have to hold this down. And Jalen's been holding it down. Defenses play good football. It ain't the 2010 Alabama Crimson Tide defense, but for what it is this year, it's one of the better defenses I feel like he's had in some seasons, because we just knew the offense was going to put up points, but this team has really won games defensively. You didn't give up a point in the second half of this game.
Not at all.
You didn't give up a point. So, I mean, as much as the offense put up 27 points, the defense earned their money too by not allowing a point in the second half. That's big time.
Yeah. And like the defense is showing flashes of life. Finally, it's still not perfect. I still think this team isn't.
It's a flawed team.
Yeah, they're not perfect at all. Like I've been saying the last couple of weeks, like this is a mortal football team in Alabama. Like they're not this unstoppable force that you've seen over the last decade and a half now. Yeah, it's totally different. But what Saban and company have figured out a way to do is utilize their strengths very well, figure out all of these mismatches out there on the field, and they're just going with it. And they're still working on people like Bun, people like Burton. They're all really trying to figure out who's the best 11 guys we can put out on the field. And it feels like every other week we're seeing like a new player emerge on this team that's helping them get over the hump each week. And yeah, it's a recipe for success if this keeps up. So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with Alabama going forward, but I gotta give it to them. I'm not gonna lie. Like this has to be Nick Saban's best coaching job in a very long time.
Yeah, they're finding ways to win. Saint Nick, you think things about to go downhill and maybe it's the beginning of the end, and he's just showing why he's probably the best to ever do this thing called coaching in college football.
Yeah.
So team is still right there in the mix to make the playoffs. I believe they have a bye week approaching.
Yes, before the LSU game.
Right before LSU. So that game should be a great one too. LSU is coming along. LSU still has a chance to make some things happen. They're not dead just yet either. So we're going to see if they have things figured out, because I think this LSU team is catching its stride.
They are. They are.
I mean,
everything's in front of them.
They ain't nothing to brag about when you whoop up on Army.
No.
But I think this. I know one thing, and this LSU offense is the real deal, and we're going to see just how for real Alabama's defense is when they play them.
Yeah. Agreed. So yeah, I can't wait for that game to happen. Of course, it's one of those games every year that you circle, and you just tell yourselves like, "Hey, this." Like you could be watching your CFP champion between LSU and Bama. So it's always a big game every year, and yeah, we definitely can't wait to talk about that matchup on the show.
For sure. As Tennessee goes, I think we see this is like we've been saying they aren't a good team, but they're not a bad team, but they aren't a good team.
No.
They really need a quarterback. I don't want to just bring Joe Milton down, but man, like they need a quarterback. That's what's really holding this team back. The defensive line is the truth. They make some plays out there. You got some guys on the outside who are some ballers. You know, Squirrel White can make some plays too. It's this team, because they just had better quarterback play. I think they could really challenge when you kind of look at the pieces they have, but that's it's really becoming really evident. I feel like, you know, and so especially in this game, I think they needed Milton to turn some of those field goals they had near the red zone into touchdowns.
Yeah, especially late in the game. Although I feel like a lot of that was just their offensive line just making mistakes at the last minute. And you can probably argue as well, pass protection hasn't been great for Tennessee as well. So they're going to have to do a little bit more recruiting at the offensive line position this season. So, but I mean, I feel I'm still a believer in Milton, but you know, you never know when your time could be coming to an end with holding that quarterback position. You know, so
I believe soon. Let me see. Do they have Kentucky next?
I think Kentucky is next.
I think Kentucky is next, and maybe that is a game that could be a get-right game for him passing-wise. We saw Georgia just make shot play after shot play against Kentucky's secondary. We saw Missouri make big plays against Kentucky's secondary. Maybe Squirrel White goes crazy against Kentucky secondary. Maybe Milton can make the passes in that game. I think that'll be interesting. That'll be an interesting matchup to see how those two teams fare against each other. Because, like we said, man, nobody is perfect, and both of those teams have some significant flaws at times. But it'll be curious to see who can take advantage of each other's weaknesses.
Right. That's all
the game could play out in so many different ways. It could be a Tennessee beatdown. It could be a Kentucky beatdown. It could be a Tennessee close win. It could be a Kentucky close win. I really think that game can be one of the more wilder games where outcome-wise that we might not really see coming. So, we'll see, man.
We'll see. We'll see. They got Kentucky next week, and then November the 4th against UConn at Missouri on November the 11th. Not an easy game at all.
Ooh, Missouri, man, their schedule just lined up really nicely for them this year.
I know.
Getting Tennessee at home, had a chance to beat LSU at home with that one. You know, had Kansas State come home, play you at home.
Yeah, it just lined up nicely for them. So yeah, November the 18th against Georgia, and November the 25th against Vanderbilt. Both Georgia and Vanderbilt are home games for Tennessee. So we'll see. We will see. But yeah. Anything else you want to add, Chris, before we move on?
Nah, nothing else to add. Like you said, big ups to Bama, big ups to Nick Saban. And But, you know, we'll see how these teams continue to play. You know.
Yeah, we will. We will. Well, all right. Well, you know what? Before we had started this show, Chris, I was thinking of some of the other wild games that happened over the weekend, and I had to put this game on because you talked about this team, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Chris hosted Virginia over the weekend, and what do you know, Chris? The Cavaliers defeated North Carolina, upset North Carolina 31-27, and now the North Carolina Tar Heels are 6-1, 3-1 in conference play in the ACC, and now they gotta figure out a way to, I guess, hope for the best now if they want to make a playoff run. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's over now. But
It's over.
but yeah, overall, Virginia defeated North Carolina over the weekend, and I want to get your thoughts on the game, Chris, because I know you've been kind of a little iffy about NC this season.
Yeah. I was like, man, I was just a week too early. You know, I thought Miami was going to be the team to go in there and get the win, but Virginia got them, and some things just don't change, man.
Some things never change.
Some things just don't change. Some things never change. I mean, Mac Brown has had his successes, but for all his successes too, he's had his games, his inexplicable losses as favorites. And we saw this happen with North Carolina last year. Got off to a hot start. Next thing you know, man, the team lost 4 straight games to close the regular season. It was bad.
Yeah.
We've seen this movie before. You know,
we've seen it.
I'd be shocked. We just saw it last season, just 365. You know, what I'm saying 365 days prior. We've seen this movie, so I wasn't shocked. It's not even the players. We know Drake May is talented. We know Tez Walker is very talented. It's just something about this team, this program, that you just can't shake that stench of them just being a more talented team, being the better team, but still somehow finding a way to get in, to lose, to just beating themselves up, shooting themselves in the foot. It makes no sense.
Yeah, just I don't like. It's just a weird football team in North Carolina, especially like any other team would love to have a Tez Walker, a Drake May, you know, all of these players, and I'm pretty sure they would be undefeated with those players. Like think of
a very talented defensive line. The D line is very good. It gets pressure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you would think a team like that could handle their business very well. But North Carolina always has these lull periods, and you know that's kind of the thing that Texas fans always came after Mac Brown about, where you know when they're doing good, Texas could do no wrong, but sometimes Mac Brown would have like those brain fart games where it's just like, well, we just lost that one. You know, those mulligan games where you can't explain why you would lose a game like that when clearly you were riding high, and you had the talent.
A one win Virginia team comes to your stadium, to your home field, and gets the win. One win. Team that was right there, it is well documented the struggles they've been having, and just how badly their head coach needed this one, and you somehow you give Virginia a moment. Virginia needed this win badly.
Oh, they did. They definitely did. But
desperately.
I wasn't.
Of all the games, no. I mean, you might as well lost to Miami last week. This is if you're a North Carolina fan, you're just beside yourself. I feel like you wanted to believe that this team would be better, but I also feel like North Carolina fans, they are not shocked one bit that this team laid an egg and lost this one.
Look, I definitely believe some of them are just like, like some of them probably would tell you right now, and if you're a North Carolina fan listening in on the show, you probably know as well that like this is just how it is with Mac Brown. Like we've learned what Texas has learned over the years. All of those UT fans that had to deal with this, now we're getting the short end of the stick. And it is what it is. And I mean, like, North Carolina could win out for the rest of the season, and I guess everything would be well, but you're just gonna look back at this game, even if you do, and you're just gonna say, man, this was a one-win football team.
One-win football team
heading into that game that we lost to. We should be undefeated heading into the ACC championship game.
It's the price you pay of having Mac Brown as your head coach. I mean, he's a really good coach. He can build your program up. He can recruit.
Mm-hmm.
One of the better recruiters in his time of coaching. He's brought in some great players to North Carolina. But you're going to have a few games throughout the season that are inexplicably closer than they should be. You just got to hope and pray that y'all find a way to win those games. This one, you didn't.
You just didn't. You just didn't.
You just didn't. It's that simple. Yeah.
So, yeah.
The credit to Virginia for going to North Carolina, focus, believing that they can get this win. This game isn't close just simply because North Carolina lays an egg, but Virginia also had to believe that they would win themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And that belief was evident in how they played, grinding out this game, getting defensive stops against a top-tier quarterback. Shout out to the defense they played, limiting a Tez Walker, and putting yourself in position to win this ball game. So, I know we're laying it on heavy to North Carolina, but we do got to give some credit to Virginia in winning a game that, quite honestly, they had no business.
Right. No, they definitely had no business winning this football game, but they did.
They did.
They did. And it's definitely a confidence booster for Virginia.
And I think this team, I wouldn't expect them either to be too full of themselves and going to the next game. I think this team will stay level.
Mm-hmm.
That's I wouldn't be shocked if I would like to see who Virginia. Let me see. who Virginia has next on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be curious to see how they would perform in this next ball.
Miami.
No, Miami.
Oh
man, that's an interesting matchup. I'm gonna be checking that out.
You know what? I actually want to see this. Like Virginia, like before winning against North Carolina, they won a game against William and Mary. You had to win a game like that to even, keep your hopes alive at becoming potentially bowl eligible, because that's all still in front of them.
And all their games have been so close.
I know.
Prior to that, lose to Boston College by 3, lose to NC State by 3. I mean, that's tough.
They're getting close. They're getting closer and closer.
And then they finally get over the hump and get this one over North Carolina. They will be feeling very confident against Miami. I think that one actually will be a game.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a game.
Yeah. Circle that game on your calendar.
I'm very intrigued. I will be watching that game too. That'll be one of my 3 or 4 games that I have pulled up. I'm gonna have a game on each TV. Then you got the phone. Some way, somehow, that one's going to be on my screen.
Absolutely. Oh man, yeah, that's going to be interesting. So yeah, you got at Miami this coming Saturday, Georgia Tech November the 4th, at Louisville November the 9th. And
all winnable games, if we're being real.
Yeah,
even the Louisville game.
I know. And hey, this is coming from someone that was on the Louisville train early in the season, and then I got off the Louisville train after that Pitt game. So I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, against Duke at home November the 18th, and then you have your rival game, Virginia Tech, on November the 25th. So everything's still in front for Virginia. So we'll definitely keep an eye on the Cavaliers going forward. But anything else, Chris, you want to mention about this game before we move on to our last game of today's show?
Nah, nothing else.
All right. Yeah, well, that was that game, and we will move on to the final game that happened over the weekend. This was actually the primetime ESPN game that happened in the ACC, where the Florida State Seminoles hosted the Duke Blue Devils. This was a game me and you were talking about on our Friday show, Chris, where we were very interested in seeing what was going to happen with the whole game time decision with Riley Leonard. And he did play in this game, but not as much, of course. And overall,
got injured in the ball game again, and had to miss out a significant amount of time in the second half.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. So, overall, Florida State defeated Duke 38-20, and now they're 7-0, still undefeated. So I know Jordan Travis and company is feeling good right now, and he had a pretty decent day. He was 27 for 36, 268 yards with 2 touchdowns, and he also did throw a pick in that game. They actually was brought in for a touchdown for Duke. So
yeah.
Overall, what did you think about this game? Because Duke did play a pretty decent game and they actually had opportunities to potentially win the football game, but not having Riley Leonard
That
keep them in the ball game did ultimately.
that really hurt them. Riley's absence. There were some times where you just kind of say to yourself, man, if he's in this game, this might stay a ball game.
Yeah.
It was a close game up until the point where Riley had an exit. Florida State did what good teams do. You take advantage of the other team not having their star quarterback. Nothing to take away from Florida State. They did what you're supposed to do, but I wasn't moved or impressed either. I still have my questions about this Florida State team, but I feel like they did what they were supposed to do. They took care of business. I mean, with Riley being out the game, they got the backup in. You take advantage. Mm-hmm. You pull away. We figured they would pull away and win this ball game anyways, but they definitely did what they were supposed to in this one, and it's kind of interesting. I feel like the weekend really played out very much as we anticipated these games to play out.
Yeah.
We were very strong on USC and Utah being a close game. Mm-hmm. You felt we both did not question Utah's ability to go on the road and win that game. You actually picked them to win it. We said Alabama would pull away from Tennessee. It would probably be kind of close to start, but Bama would take off. And that's what Bama did. Going on a 27-0 run.
Yeah.
And then with this ball game right here, how things played out with Florida State, pulling away from Duke. It was helped and encouraged with Riley's absence, but like I said, good teams take advantage. It is what it is. In Florida State, I think you feel good, you feel confident, and you're just ready. Bring it on. Who's next?
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I'm starting to feel like Florida State has become probably the most complete team in college football right now. I'll give them that little mulligan against Boston College several weeks ago. But overall, like, every challenge that they've had to come up against, they've gotten better and better every week. And I'm confident in saying if they keep this up and they keep grinding out these wins and playing as complete of a football game that they can play, they can go toe to toe with anyone in the CFP by the time we get there. So I'm just very, very much pleased with what I'm seeing with Florida State right now. And yeah, I'm really interested in seeing how they can handle the rest of the season going forward. But for Duke, I'm still high on Duke. This isn't like a terrible loss where they're just a fluke of a football team. This is a really good Duke football team,
for sure.
Like hands down. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna be eyeing them going forward too.
Yeah. And right now, if we had to, with everything we've seen so far this season, everything we know, who do you have as your top 4 teams in college football? I guess it would be different or who would you have making the college football playoff right now? Because I think for me personally, who I think are the four best teams
Mm-hmm.
and who I think would make the college football playoff are different right now. But who do you think make the playoff? And if we were voting today on based off what you've seen, the intel you have, who would be your four teams?
For me, I do most complete. I think I still have Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't in a. This doesn't have to be in
That's not a particular order, just four teams. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Georgia is still that team for me until I see otherwise. Florida State, Washington, and I will say Ohio State.
Okay. See, I was thinking Georgia, Washington, Florida State, and Michigan.
Okay. I didn't say Michigan because I feel like Michigan hasn't really had the schedule that Ohio State has had. Like Michigan hasn't had to play against a Notre Dame on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like that one game right there has helped me look at Ohio State a lot differently. It kind of helps me show that they're a little bit more battle tested than Michigan.
And they got the win over Penn State now as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A game that
I probably, if we did have to do a playoff, I probably would say Ohio State, based on their schedule, you would put in right now. But it is going to be very interesting come when it's time for the game.
Mm-hmm.
When it's time for those two teams to play each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be
this year. Yeah, this year it's at the big house. It was at the shoe last year. So
right. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and like you said, they took care of business over the weekend against Penn State. So, like they're showing us more and more each week that they're grinding out with wins. So I'm feeling very good about.
And even that game. Even that game played out how we said it would.
Yeah.
If they couldn't get the passing attack going, we hadn't seen enough from them leading up to that ball game to confidently say Penn State will win this game. And just Ohio State just grinded their way to win. It was a classic 2000s Big Ten football game. A whole lot of defense being played. It was not pretty. It was not easy on the eyes, that football game. It was you had to earn it.
Right.
And they did.
Absolutely. So yeah, as of right now, those are my top four teams. Like what we've seen in college football history, anything can change. Especially with a season like this, where it's just ridiculous, and and you have teams like Alabama, figuring out, figuring out everything with their team, and Ole Miss is, kind of sneaky good right now.
Yeah, Ole Miss is winning.
Yeah.
They're a good team. I struggle to say just how good they are. That game was interesting against Auburn.
It did. And maybe it's because it's just Lane Kiffin. He likes to make things interesting.
That was a tough game. Auburn gave them a little bit of a run. But yeah, they are a top 12 team in the nation.
Yeah, as of today, they're ranked 12th.
So yeah. Oh man,
So it's interesting.
it is. And but before we go,
Mm-hmm.
we will be remiss if we didn't discuss. We knew this game, the loser was gonna their head coach was gonna be in for it. Clemson losing to Miami in OT. Is Dabo officially on the hot seat?
Look,
Season?
if he's not, he should be, because this is just I remember a couple weeks ago when we were talking about Alabama, Chris, and you had mentioned after that South Florida game that it was like watching Rome fall apart.
Yeah.
This is like
this is really like watching that happen, watching it collapse.
Yeah, this is literally like watching that happen in real time. Like I don't know what to say about Clemson at this point.
It's tough.
It's tough, and Dabo isn't going to make. He isn't going to call himself out and say that this is his fault when, let's be honest, it's clearly his fault as to the reason why they're playing so bad. When you are disregarding NIL,
disregarding the portal,
disregarding the portal, this is your team. This is your football team.
It is. I'll say this on his behalf. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily want to be the one throwing on a cape for Dabo, but when has Clemson just been like Clemson has always been good.
Mm-hmm.
But what Clemson has been lately has been heights this program has never seen before. And expecting that man to sustain said heights, that is a tall task. That is a lofty. That is very difficult. You know what I'm saying? I tend to give him a little bit of ease up off him just a little and give him
a little sympathy,
just a little cushion. Yeah, like. We'll see how this team finishes, but a 3-4 loss season it happens. It happens at programs. You know what I'm saying? Now the question will be, how does Clemson respond next season? But I think we can allow him to have a rough year this year. There's no way in hell, man, that man was going to continue to rattle off 11-win seasons and be right there in the playoffs every year or every other year with Clemson.
I mean, you say that though, Chris, and it's just I can't get under grasp of him not thinking that NIL transfer portals in this world of college football. I just can't get under grasp that he doesn't think that stuff matters now in making your team as successful as you can make it.
It ain't. You have you ever watched the show The Wire?
Yes.
And you remember Slim Charles?
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite characters on the show. And he was talking to Bodie, and Bodie was explaining things to him. And he said, "See, the thing about the old days is they the old days. Those are the old days where you could just recruit. You got your guys come in, 20, 22 freshmen, maybe 3 or 4 JUCO guys sprinkled in your class. You call it a day. You bring guys up. You know what I'm saying? They might not be ready as a freshman. By the time they're a junior, they come up, they're ready to go. that ain't necessarily how you can recruit anymore. Now you need some transfers. You need to clean up in the transfer portal and get some of those high-end talented guys to come to your program. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
We've seen other big time programs do it. Florida State has Keon Coleman. Jameson Williams was a transfer that went to Alabama. Was at Ohio State with Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave. I mean, good grief, that receiving core was crazy.
That was just like hitting the Super Nintendo cheat code, and then like, oh, I got nothing but 5-star wide receivers on my team.
Bruh. Jameson was cold himself and was playing behind 3 guys who were first round picks. Like that team was ridiculous. But we've seen even Nick Saban's hit the portal and brought in some guys. He got it Williams. You got Burton from Georgia. Like all these, the top programs are adapting, and Clemson hasn't adapted, like you said. So I understand where you're coming from, but I also think we gotta maybe this little bump on the head. You know what I'm saying? Is getting beamed up a couple times. Maybe that's going to be the thing that kind of changes some stuff, and we'll see how Clemson looks next year. But next season the seat will be a whole lot warmer next year. You know what I'm saying? If this goes down again.
Hey, wait, what is it? 2024 next season where the 12-team playoff starts. I'm telling you right now, Chris.
He can't afford to miss the playoff.
He can't afford to miss the playoff. If he don't make any one of those 12 slots, he is out of there.
Out of there.
Like a home run in the World Series. Out of there.
Oh, man.
That's all I got.
I'm not going to say he's out of there. This man brought you... I mean, they won the national championship. They had the game where they lost to Bama. And then you beat Bama. And then you lose to LSU. 3 national championship appearances and 1 title at Clemson? Nah, man, we can't fire him just yet.
There's still some life left into this.
We gotta put some stuff in perspective. I mean, I'll say this. Ain't no way in hell Jimbo Fisher should have a job and Dabo Swinney gets fired before him. If Dabo gets fired before Jimbo, this world is all out of whack. It makes no sense.
Why don't we just let both of them leave? Like, just open up the door and just like, look, it's just not working for either of you guys.
I get that. The question is, who are you hiring to replace him? That's what it becomes. That's what I would be curious and interested to see who's replacing Dabo.
At this point now, with the way college football is going now, Chris, that is the hardest question to answer.
It is. And
for any program.
It really is, because like, do you go the old school method of like bringing in someone who's proven, like that is ready for the job,
right?
Or do you take a risk, take a chance? You see what's happening out there in Boulder. I'm just so curious to see what Deion's next stop will be. I know we're loving what he's doing in Colorado, but I'm just curious to see if one of these top big time elite programs, if they take the chance on bringing him along and see what he's capable of doing, especially with those big time program names and the money that would be poured into the resources available at another program.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see if someone just takes a leap of faith and maybe brings in someone who isn't per se just custom made ready for that position, but has huge potential to really hit. I'm just curious to see when the coaching cycles come, who goes where, and then if they're willing to take a chance on getting guys who might not necessarily be ready just yet.
Well, I mean, look, that's one of the reasons why Colorado wants to lock up Dion. And as far as I'm concerned, he hasn't signed that lifetime contract.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he knows that because he knows that there's going to be other schools that will be willing to hand him the keys to the kingdom. So right now, it's the sky's the limit for Dion. Honestly, he doesn't have to stay in Colorado, but
he does. This was a team that was predicted to win 3 games this year.
Yeah.
They already hit the 3-game win mark, so the rest. We'll see how the things play out to finish the season, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not ready to get rid of Dabo just yet, but I will say the seat should be. You know how when you drive, you got your car and you got the heated seats and you can turn the levels up.
Yep.
To 1, 2, or 3. It's at 1 right now. I think it should be kicked up to 2. I think it's going. Actually, I ain't even gonna say it should. I really think it should be comfortable at 1. Like we could cut him some slack, but I think the powers that be will click it up to level 2 of the hotness on the seat. And if he don't make the playoffs next year, that thing is gonna be blazing. It's gonna be at its hottest.
I really think
it's gonna be at level 3 next year.
I really think so. Try to maneuver yourself away from that seat.
Oh, he's already in he's driving. He got his seatbelt on. You can't get out the seat.
Oh, boy.
You sitting in it regardless.
Man, you better tell Jimbo to take the wheel.
That's the last person you want driving.
I knew you were gonna say it. Oh my God!
We better have Jesus take the wheel before we let Jimbo take the wheel.
Oh yeah. Oh my God! But yeah. That was I know we were finishing up the Duke Florida State game, and we pretty much did. But it's just overall.
There's so much that happened this weekend. I feel like we just kind of had to touch on it just a little bit.
Yeah. No. It's perfectly fine, of course. Just looking at places like the ACC and the SEC and what's going on in the Pac-12 right now is very very easy to start trying to kind of pick these teams out because this is like the last week before the official college football playoff rankings will start. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's only right for us to actually start thinking of these things now. So we don't have much left of the college football season. So we're heading into week 9 this coming week. So
yeah.
So is week 9? I am so confused at this point. Yes, it is week 9.
Yeah. It is.
Oh my gosh.
It
is. So yeah, it's only right for us to actually start talking about these things down because we're heading into that season, to that point of the season. So, but yeah. I think that's pretty much everything for the week, Chris, that we wanted to cover in week 8 of the college football season. And of course, y'all, we appreciate everyone tuning in to the show. Before we head out, Chris, go ahead and let the good people know where they can find you on social media.
Y'all can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Chris_Bolton_12. You can find me on Instagram as well at Chris.Bolton_. Get at your boy. Sports is in full swing. I'll be talking college football, NFL, NBA, fantasy, wrestling. You want to play 2K with your boy? Hey, get at me too. I mean, I got PlayStation as well. You know what I'm saying? We can run it up at the rec. We can hit the park. Let me know what's up. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And yeah, of course, if you want to follow me on social media, you can follow me on X. It's at Listen to KSW, all one handle. I'm on there talking college football, NFL, professional wrestling, video games, all of that good stuff. So yeah, follow me on there, and I'll definitely chat with y'all then. But yeah, that's it for us, guys. Like I said, we appreciate you all listening in on the show, and we will be back on Friday to get you set for week 9 of the college football season. So we're heading down that stretch. So until next time, y'all, everyone take care, be safe, and have a great week. Peace.